Everybody. Brett Kelly here. It's been a little while. There's a couple kinks with this audio. Let me fix this. Tonight I'm bringing you a new game. This is Tabletop Simulator technically, but what they're simulating here is a new game by Valve called Artifact. And I know probably a lot of you aren't familiar with Artifact, but it's getting a lot of hype. A ton of hype. And it's based off of the Dota universe, which I'm a huge fan of myself. It's a MOBA, which is Multiplayer Online Battle Arena. Dota is, not this game, but this game, I think, incorporates some MOBA elements, such as your hero. You have heroes, and your heroes get gold from killing things, and you can equip items onto your heroes, and they get kind of better as the game goes on. So it's got kind of like not a leveling system, but like a progression as the game goes. It is a card game, as you can see, and another MOBA aspect is it has 3 lanes in it. So it's basically like you're playing 3 games at the same time. Basically, you have a game here in lane 1, and then you have a game here in lane 2, and a game here in lane 3. And in order for you to win, you need to basically win 2 lanes. And what that means is each lane has a tower, represented here just by a counter. In the actual game, there will be a nice graphic of a tower with health points. Each tower has 40 hit points to start. You can see there's been some damage chipping down on these towers already, so this one's at 23. But if you can kill 2 towers, you win the game. Once you kill a tower in a lane, something called the Ancient pops up. So you don't necessarily need to kill 2 towers. You could kill 1 tower and then kill the Ancient, and the Ancient has 80 health. So it is possible to win the game from just 1 lane, but the general way is you win 2 lanes and you do 40 damage in both of those lanes. Now, this game is very complicated. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot going on here. The board, having 3 lanes makes it just 3 times more complicated than a game like Hearthstone, where there's just 1 lane. The gameplay is quite a bit different from a game like Hearthstone because you're really just modifying your creatures. You're not directly controlling them. You don't order your creatures to attack a certain direction. They randomly attack. You can see there's arrow cards here. They'll get a random arrow card assigned to them at the beginning of the round, which tells them if they're going to attack straight or if they're going to attack diagonally or diagonally the other way. Now, if there's a creature in front of them, they'll automatically attack that and they won't get an arrow card. But if there's no one in front of them, they'll either attack straight into the tower or they could attack diagonally into a diagonal creature or the other way. There's a 50% chance of a straight arrow and 25% chance for each of the diagonal arrows. So you can see here, there's a mix of creeps and heroes. Venomancer is a hero, Enchantress is a hero, and the 2 melee creeps are just creeps, and the Plague Ward's also just a creep type unit. Yeah, let me actually change the title of this stream because we're not doing Imperial Assault Night. Let's change this notification. Let's see. Okay. Information is updated. We are playing Artifact, not Imperial Assaults. Hey Jake, can you confirm for me that the title of our stream updated? Because I clicked change, but I don't get a notification on here that it actually does anything. Anyway, all right. So again, you're not really directly controlling your figures. They get random arrows to show where they're attacking, but other than that, like you can't move a hero to a different lane just as a base concept in this game. They can move to other games if you upgrade them with something like a blink dagger, which is an item which can change them to another lane, or if they die, you can spawn them in another lane later. So it's very, very different than how a lot of card games work, where if you have a figure, you're telling it when to attack, you're telling it a lot of the time where to attack. In this game, it's more like you play your figures, and then they kind of have a mind of their own, and you're just modifying them and trying to get good trades. So some people have complained about that, saying they don't get that feeling that you often get in a card game when you like tell a character to attack and it attacks something and kills something, and you kind of feel this dopamine hit, like, yes, I did that, I killed something. You're more like a manager in this game, managing the stats of your heroes, managing the stats of your creeps and stuff like that. So it's a very, very different type of game than something like Hearthstone. Anyway, let's look at this game specifically. There's a lot going on here. So the heroes, you play 5 heroes in a deck, and they come in different colors. Each hero has 3 signature cards, so if you play that hero in your deck, you will get 3 of that hero's signature cards built in, and you cannot change that. You can't have extra or less. It is turn-based. I'll explain that later too, because that's kind of interesting. Each of the heroes can play any spells that are associated with its color. So like, for instance, Venomancer is a blue hero, so he can play any blue spell. In fact, heroes can play other heroes' signature spells. So Kana over here could play Venomancer's signature spell because they're both blue. So we are spectating a blue-black deck here. Black is the assassin type figures. Blue is the spellcasters. Blue typically is kind of a late game color, and black is more like a hero killer color. On the other side, there are blue and green. So both sides running dual color decks. You can run monocolor, and you can run 3 or 4 colors in a deck, but typically most decks are dual color, kind of like Magic the Gathering. Again, you need a hero that is a certain color in that lane to play that color spell. So if you have 2 colors, you can run both colors good spells, and you'll still be able to play them because you'll typically have 1 or 2 heroes in a lane. Whereas if you're running like 4 different colors, if your blue hero gets killed and he's your only blue hero, well, you just can't play any blue spells. It is turn-based. It's kind of hard to follow on Tabletop Simulator because it's represented just by this initiative rook. And you can see they're passing the initiative when they're done. Basically, games like Hearthstone and Magic, you can play as many cards as you want during your turn, and then you say, I'm done, and you give your opponent a chance to respond. And there's like different phases. In this game, every time you play a card, unless that card says get initiative, you pass the initiative token and your opponent immediately gets to play a card. And then at the end of that, all the heroes and minions just hit into each other at the same time. So there's no my turn, I play all this stuff and I attack. Then your turn, you play all your stuff and attack. It's just, I play a thing, you play a thing, I play a thing, you play a thing. And then everyone goes at the same time. And there is something interesting. if you decide not to play anything and you're the first person not to play anything, in other words, you pass first, you get the initiative in the next lane unless they have a card that says get initiative. So that is I kind of like that design choice. It seems a little bit more fair. Although if you like combo decks in something like Hearthstone or Magic, it kind of makes it hard to do a combo deck because you can't get that big combo off because you're only playing one card at a time and your opponent has a chance to respond. For instance, there's a card that just got released today that is a green card that's it costs 1 mana and it's give your tower plus 3 mana this turn. So basically, you need mana to play spells, and this card gives you a ramp up so you can ramp up and play a big spell. The problem, though, is it's a green spell, right? So you play that on a green hero, but then your opponent maybe could kill your hero before you get a chance to play the big spell you're ramping up for. So it's just harder to pull off those big combos, it seems like. I mean, obviously, I'm not super experienced in this game. It's not out yet. I've only been spectating on Tabletop Simulator, and I've only played a couple games myself. But it just seems like it's harder for combo and aggressive type decks to just take off with these big card combinations. A lot of the people that do know what they're talking about, in other words, people that have been streaming this game a bunch, have said that blue is kind of the best color. And that's because blue is kind of the control color. So maybe in future expansions they'll give aggressive and combo decks more tools to play with. And I think the tools that you need are cards that say get initiative after doing something. There are a couple cards in the game like that already, like Tidehunter's Kraken Shell is something like deal a damage, get initiative or something. But that's the type of card that you need for combos to work. We'll see. Like I said, blue. Well, this game is designed by Richard Garfield, who designed Magic the Gathering, so there are going to be some similarities. Green, for instance, seems to be the ramp color. They have a couple cards that give your towers extra mana, which, if you're coming from Magic, mana is basically the same as playing land. I'm not a Magic player myself, so I'm not sure if I'm getting that right, but basically your towers start with 3 mana in each lane in Artifact, and every round they increase by 1. So it's kind of like Hearthstone, where it automatically goes up 1 per round. In Magic, you have to play lands to get mana, so it's kind of like that. Yeah, I actually just downloaded the Magic the Gathering Arena today. It seems pretty cool. I will say that I have no idea what I'm doing in deck building with Magic. It's just they don't give you a lot of cards to play with in the arena when you start. They give you 6 monocolor decks and kind of say go for it, but it's kind of hard to make a dual color deck with what they give you. So I've been playing around a little bit just today with Magic, but yeah, I think Artifact is going to be the game I go to. And another thing with Tabletop Simulator, unfortunately, there's like no sound effects really, which kind of sucks. And there's no really graphics for this game, but we're going to do our best interpreting what's going on here. You can see in this lane here, we have Young-based Salami versus 4 Second. And let's see, 4 Second is red. He's controlling the top. So he's dominating this first lane. He's already killed the tower and the Ancient is up, which means if he kills this Ancient, he wins the game. He's got a lot of stuff here. But like I said, it's not always a good thing to have all your stuff in one lane because you can't really move it to other lanes easily. He is going to keep attacking this, and you can see these counters are his attack values, and he's modifying his attack values with Mist of Avernus. This is a very, very strong ramp card. Every round, every creature in this lane is going to get +1 attack. So he's going for this ancient kill in this first lane. And you can see right there, he did 35 damage. Next round, this ancient will die if Young Base Salami doesn't do anything to respond. Salami should have an advantage in the other two lanes since 42nd's going so ham on lane 1. But he's only done 10 damage to the tower in lane 2 and 18 to the tower in lane 3. So he's not exactly crushing the other lanes. Let's see what's going on here. It looks like Storm Spirit just moved. Oh, maybe not. So Storm Spirit has a Stonehall Cloak attached, which is a armor item, which gives him some extra health. It's actually probably the most common item you're going to see in this game. It's cheap and the effect is really good. It seems like everyone is playing 3 of them in their decks. And item decks are only 9 cards, so that's a third of your item deck is just these Stonehall Cloaks. Basically, they give you +4 health, and then they give you 2 health if you survive the combat phase every round. So they can ramp out of control, and they're very cheap. So he is winning this lane. So let me get you more into the mechanics of this. Every round after both players are done playing everything they want to play, everything bashes into each other. So, for instance, this Tyler Estate Sensor is going to go straight and hit the tower. Venomancer is going to go diagonally, but there's nothing there, so he's going to hit the tower. And they hit with their attack value, which is 2. Zeus has an attack value of 5. He's going to kill this melee creep because he only has a health of 4. Zeus has 3 health left, and he's going to take 2 from the melee creep, so he'll be at 5-1. You don't heal at the end of combat like you do in Magic. Your health just decreases. Storm Spirit will hit the tower for 6, Kana will hit the tower for 2, and melee creep for 2. Now, Kana is a very interesting hero because she has a ability called Bringer of Conquest. And this ability is not necessarily a good thing because it brings... So every after you're done in all 3 lanes, you go to kind of a cleanup phase, and you buy items, and then melee creeps will come out. And they'll spawn randomly in one of the 3 lanes. 2 come out every round. But if you have Kana, both of them will spawn into her lane, which is actually a bad thing for Young Base Salami here because he kind of wants some to spawn in lane 1 to block off this huge attack that's happening here. Instead, they're not really providing that much to lane 2. He also is running Sorlakan, who's probably the most aggressive hero in the game because she deals extra attack to the enemy tower, and her signature card is called War Ladders, which makes everyone do extra damage to towers. So she's a really strong aggro tool, but she's kind of stuck by herself in this 3rd lane, and you can see it's not really going so well for her. She's only got 3 health left, and she hasn't really been able to put a lot of damage on that tower. Still at 22 health. Young Base Salami did finish off the tower in lane 2. So he is also on the Ancient, but he's way behind compared to lane 1, which is already at 45. And with this modification here, Mist of Avernus, this is giving everyone +1 permanent attack every round. So that'll be enough to kill the Ancient next round if nothing gets blocked. So yeah, Kana actually, she's brought stuff to the middle lane, but it's not really as impactful as what 42nd is able to do with his green stuff over here, specifically Mist of Avernus. Yeah, so I think Young Base Salami's going to have to do something about round 1. He's going to have to probably move a hero or preferably 2 over there to kill some heroes and prevent this Ancient from going down. He does have Phantom Assassin spawning. He really needs to start with initiative so he can get a kill right away. Phantom Assassin is another hero with a very good card that she comes with. Her card is Coup de Grace, which is just destroy an enemy hero. Just automatically, no matter what their health is or what their armor is. Yeah, fake artifact here, guys. But this is all we can get. I mean, they've been very stingy with details about when the beta is coming out, and they've also been very stingy with giving out beta keys. It's my guess that beta keys are going to be, they're just going to come if you pre-order the game, but that's just an assumption right now. A lot of us are going to have to wait and see. So initiative did pass back to 42nd, which is bad news for Young Bay Salami because he has the damage here to kill this Ancient. Venomancer summons a Plague Ward every round. That pairs so well with Mists of Avernus because those Plague Wards are also getting modified with +1 attack. So this, I really like this deck. It's blue, but it's also aggressive. Luna, another character she's a blue hero, but she's actually got a decent stat line for a blue hero, and she can do some damage herself. So there are some tools in this blue deck that aren't completely control based. Bonk is actually my cousin, so and no, you can't pre-order this game yet. You kind of just have to download Tabletop Simulator, and yeah, that's all you can do. So I haven't memorized every card in this game, by the way, so let's take a look at some of these. There's different types of cards, right? So there's minions, like this Tyler Estate Sensor, and there's also tower modifications, and as far as I know, there's no limit to how many tower modifications you can play per tower. So this is an example of that. So this is a permanent upgrade to this lane, and he has 2 of them, it looks like here. So you cannot play spells or creeps while this is the active lane. If there's an allied black here on this lane, allies have +4 attack. So he's basically sacrificing his card play here to give him more attack. Pretty interesting. Yeah, there's no limit to anything you can play. Even in the lanes, you can play an unlimited number of minions sideways. You can make very wide lanes here. Of course, that doesn't work very well in Tabletop Simulator. You can see he's kind of had to put him around in a U shape, but in the actual game, you can just scroll, I think. That's the way it works. But you can have unlimited creeps in a lane. Yeah, you can only have 5 heroes, and you can only have 3 of each spell in your deck. You can have an unlimited number of cards in your deck, but only 3 of each type. See you, Jake. Thanks for watching, man. Always appreciate it. Alright, so when your heroes die, they go over here, and you put them in your next round, and then they spawn 2 rounds later. So PA was in the ready pool, and she's, of course, spawning to this first lane. If she didn't spawn there, the game would be over right now because 42nd has the tools to just kill this tower. And interestingly, she's spawning back here. It's random which creep she spawns in front of. And since there's so many in this simulator, I assume they just rolled the dice for who she was facing. So I guess she's facing this guy. I mean, this is a very crowded and sloppy lane in Tabletop Simulator. It's not a perfect representation of what the final game's going to look like, but like I said, it's the best we can do right now. Yeah. And you can see both players have pretty big hands, so they probably have a lot to play. They're drawing arrow cards for everything in here. And then they're going to shuffle it up and deal out arrow cards for everything. And they're also going to deal PA to something. So very crowded, hard to follow lane. I hope you guys are following along. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. Like I said, I'm not exactly the biggest expert on this game, but I'll try to answer anything I can. So that, yeah, they're just making room, looks like, and they're going to go sideways a little bit more. Going off the edge of the table here. An interesting thing to note about this game is not all three lanes are really equal, right? So this first lane, you go first in, like every time, it always starts on this left lane, which is not insignificant because there's some spells that affect other lanes. For instance, green has a spell that at the start of each turn, it buffs the lane with, I think, I'm not, well, I guess, yeah, Mist of Avernus, for example. So, like, if you are a green hero and you're on lane 1, you can play Mist of Avernus on lane 2 or 3, and it'll buff your heroes before the action starts. So you get an extra round with Mist of Avernus if you play it on lane 2 or 3. So, also, if you're a black hero, you could, there's some cards that can ping damage onto other lanes. Or if you're a blue hero like Zeus, he has a spell that deals damage to all three lanes. So the first lane, I think, is probably the most important lane to win because it gives you a chance to mess with the other two lanes as well. So that's something to keep in mind. And man, this is so much damage going through this tower. PA really needs to get a lot of work done before she gets picked off here. Again, a lot of blue spells are very aggressive. There's one blue spell that does just 20 damage to the tower. It does cost 10 mana. And it looks like there's only, I think this is how they're tracking their mana here, 4. I don't really see the mana on this side. I'm not exactly sure how they're tracking it, to be honest. Maybe these are mana counters, actually. That's got to be what it is. And a spell coming out, Eclipse. Now, Eclipse is a really cool spell in the game client, but it's a really annoying spell in Tabletop Simulator because it deals piercing damage to random enemies. So you have to roll dice to see which ones it's hitting every time. Yep, there's definitely some cards that are better late game, and blue definitely, I think, has more access to those. So Eclipse finished off that PA, which means all that damage is coming through, and that's going to end the game. So they just reset this board. Another interesting thing to think about, if you have no heroes in a lane, so for instance his PA got killed and he had no heroes left, you can't play any cards. There are 0 cards in this game that you can play without a hero. All the cards are either spells, which you need the same color hero to play, or they're items, which you need a hero to play on. You can't play items on a creep. Or they're tower modifications, which act the same as spells. And creeps actually act the same as spells too, because you need to have a hero the same color to play that creep. I'm not sure. I've been calling them creeps and I've been calling them minions. I'm really not sure what the correct thing to call them is. Creeps or minions? I guess creeps are specific types of minions, so I'll try to correct that. So it looks like they're going to go again. This time blue-red versus blue-red. So blue-red's been, I think, pretty popular. They're all creeps? Okay, they're all creeps. Blue-red's pretty popular because I think blue has the best spells in the game, and red has the best stat lines in the game. Like, for instance, look at Axe here. Well, he's covered up now. But he has 2 armor, which means every instance of damage that Axe takes is decreased by 2. Your first 2 points of armor in this game are just really, really important because there's a lot of little pings for like 2 damage. And they just don't affect Axe. Here he is. Look at him. 7 attack, 2 armor, 11 health. And that's kind of typical of red heroes. They're all pretty beefy. Axe is the beefiest. That 2 armor is just huge. Compare that to blue. Luna's actually probably one of the better blue stat lines at 3.8. But, I mean, compared to Axe, that is just awful. And one of the keys in this game is killing creeps. With 3 attack, you can't kill a melee creep. And then, on the other side, Axe is not going to take any damage from melee creeps because they only do 2 damage. So, a couple things to think about there. Bristleback is another really beefy hero. It looks like they already did combat for this lane, but Bristle does 8 damage himself, and if he kills a hero, he gets modified with +2 armor. Modify means that effect is permanent, so he has +2 armor for the rest of the game if he kills a hero. He's one of the only heroes that can actually stand up to Axe early. Let's try to follow this action. It's going quite fast. Both of these players are pretty familiar with how Tabletop Simulator works. So, Luna's ability is she pings 1 piercing damage to a random enemy at the beginning of each action phase. So they've just rolled for that randomly. Looks like Young Base Salamis hit Luna and 40 seconds hit this melee creep, so 1 piercing damage. Piercing just means it ignores armor. So there are some ways to get through that Axe +2 armor. Yeah, Axe is such a beast. Okay, so Luna's going to do 3 damage here, and this Luna's going to do 3 here, so it'll be 4 health left and 5 health left. And a card coming out. Choose a unit. Choose a combat target for it. So I'm not sure which way he directed this Luna. Maybe he doesn't want to take 3 damage from him. Luna is one of those heroes where it's very important to keep her alive. And actually Luna is another hero where it's really good to get her in lane 1 because this Lucent Beam ability also, every time it happens, it adds a charge. And then when you play Eclipse, it does damage based on how many charges you have. So if she's in lane 1, you get that charge immediately, and you can use Eclipse in any lane, and it has the full amount of charges. Whereas if she's in lane 3, you don't get that charge until the action gets around to lane 3. And here's going to be some creep combat here. It's possible that Young 42nd made his Luna attack this creep to kill it. It looks like that's what happened. When you attack diagonally, you also don't take damage from whatever you're hitting, unless it has retaliate keyword. But he should have taken damage here from this Luna. Not sure. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of everything in Tabletop Simulator. Some stuff is automated, but some stuff is you have to do it manually, so they might have just forgotten to deal the damage there. I'm not sure. Looks like they're moving on to the buy phase. So shopping, when that happens, there's 3 different decks. There's your item deck that you make before the game. And that, again, is a minimum of 9 cards, but a maximum of as many as you want. Typically in card games, you want to stick to the minimum, though. So you can purchase one of those 9 items. Well, you only get to choose 1. So it'll shuffle them and show you 1, and you could buy that item. Actually, if you buy that top item, you can buy what's underneath it, too, if you have enough gold. So you can dig through your whole deck eventually. There's also a secret shop, which is a random assortment of, like, I think most of the cards in the game. There are a couple that aren't in the secret shop. But most of the cards in the game just randomly pop up here. And then there's also consumables, which is, I think there's 7 different consumables right now. and they pop up randomly. The secret shop and consumables, you can only buy one per round. Consumables are stuff like fully heal your hero, draw a card, teleport your hero back to the fountain, which means it'll pop out next round in whichever lane you want. So those are the consumables. Alright, so back to lane 1. We have a card played that summons these Hounds of War. I think that's I'm not sure which card that is. There's a card I think that summons Hounds of War based on how many wounded characters you have in a lane. I'm pretty sure that's the card that does this. But I think there's also a blue card that just summons 4 creeps. Like I said, I don't have the whole set memorized yet. Looks like Young Base just slaughtered 40 Seconds lane there. A lot of damage going out and a lot of creeps still up with 1 health. There's a card in this game called Conflagration, which is a tower upgrade, and that tower upgrade deals 2 damage to every unit in a lane before action starts. That would be a very powerful card to have over here in lane 1, because it would kill all these Hounds of War. But I'm not sure if 40 Second has it. Another thing to look at on cards. Let's see if there's any here. Oh yeah, we should have the whole set. Okay, we actually have the whole set of cards here. The cards that just have a number, this is their cost. This symbol means it's a spell. If they have arrows, that means you can play the card in any lane. This is a tower upgrade. So if you have a black hero in lane 1, you can play this card on any of the 3 lanes from lane 1. And then there's also minions, which look like this, and they have health and armor attack, armor, and health. I think that's the only 3 types. There's spells, tower upgrades, and minions, or creeps. And then, of course, heroes. Alright, let's get back to this action. I've not been following very closely. Looks like they're already on lane 3. Everyone survived on lane 1, and looks like Axe is lined up for a big round against Zeus next turn. The random ping went on to Luna again, and Luna's ping went on to this melee creep. So if there's a blank row or column of cards, it collapses, so you'll never just get infinitely wide. It'll always collapse down. And that's what happened here last round. There was an empty lane here, so it shrunk down a bit. Oh, Prey on the Weak. Hound of War is Kana's signature card, Prey on the Weak. Let's find that one. Oh, Kana is blue. Alright, here we go. It should be up here. Kana, where are you? Here we go. Summon a Hound of War for every damage unit. Yeah, so Kana is actually a very popular blue hero. I've seen her quite a bit. Okay. These melee creeps are still alive. Both of these Lunas are still alive. Luna is a very important character to keep alive because, like I said, when you die, you come back 2 rounds later, which means that's 2 rounds you're not getting your Lucent Beam in. So if Young can kill off 40 Seconds Luna before she gets more charges, he will be in a better spot. And it looks like he is in a better spot because he got these Hounds of War off early. That's another good thing to have early, this lane control, having these wide lanes. Although Luna can pick them off with her Lucent Beam ability before the action starts. So they're back to the shop. They each bought items last round. You can see 1 item here. And he's 40 Seconds buying 2 more items. And they're tracking their gold here with these gold dials. So he spent all of his gold. Not sure how Young is tracking his gold. Oh, here he's go. So they both spent all their gold. 1 item here for Young. 3 over here for 42nd. I'm not sure how much gold they spent, but that is open information in this game. You can know exactly how much your opponent spent every round. Yeah, I do find that very strange. That was confusing me. These Hounds of War are black, but the spell is blue. I'm not sure why that is. Yeah, I really don't get it. Okay, Earthshaker's coming out, and he has an active ability, which we haven't talked about yet. His active ability has a cooldown of 4, which is a ton. You're probably only going to get 1 or 2 of these off in a game. But it's a big effect. Stun Earthshaker's enemy neighbors this round. Neighbors are the 3 that are across and diagonal to you. So he can prevent all 3 of these from doing anything, which means Zeus cannot play any blue cards this round. So this lane would be completely dead if Zeus got stunned. It also, I'm pretty sure he doesn't deal attack damage either. So Fissure is a big ability. And here we go. That's that conflagration card I mentioned. It does get thrown up here. So that's actually going to kill everything next round. Really good spell here. So a tightly contested top lane, actually. Top lane, left lane, first lane. I'm not sure what to call these lanes yet either. In Dota, you have a top lane, a mid lane, and a bottom lane. But in Artifact, it's first, second, and third, I guess. Left, middle, and right. I honestly don't like left, middle, and right. Let's call this the first lane for now. I mean, we'll figure it out. When the game actually comes out, I'm sure there will be a way people talk about these lanes. Okay, Blink Dagger is a 7 cost weapon. It gives you 2 attack and it lets you move to another lane. So it's getting thrown down on Zeus. He might want to blink to a different lane before he gets stunned by Earthshaker. So he is going to just throw that down right now. I'm not sure if Earthshaker, his Fissure is ready right now. I'm not sure how they're tracking this cooldown. It does start exhausted, so it takes 4 turns to charge up. But Earthshaker came down, I believe, in the 3rd round. So it should have 1 round left. I'm not sure how they're tracking it. They probably should have a counter on him. These purple counters are to count the charges on Lucent Beam, pretty sure. And another conflagration over here. Both players running those conflagrations. That's going to finish off this melee creep before the action starts on the 3rd lane. Zeus does use his Blink Dagger to move to lane 2. When you move lanes, you don't get to pick which slot you go in. You have to roll randomly. So I guess they did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 3 options. So he does move into this middle slot right across from Beastmaster, which is actually probably the worst spot for him to be in because Beastmaster, with his 5 attack, is going to kill Zeus. Zeus has a passive ability, deal 1 piercing damage to his enemy neighbors after you play a blue spell. So maybe Zeus can play 3 blue spells. I mean, there's 5 mana. I really doubt it. That's another thing. Like these, Zeus is very good. Don't get me wrong, but if you could combo cards together, something like Static Field would be a lot better. But again, it's very hard to combo because of the way initiative works. Beastmaster has an active, which is summon a Loyal Beast. I'm actually not sure what Loyal Beasts look like. Let's take a look. Maybe they're red. I think Beastmaster is a new, relatively new, like in the past couple days. His signature card is Primal Roar. Stun a unit blocking an allied red hero. Move that unit's allied neighbors to random other lanes. Huh. That seems like a pretty good effect for pushing some tower damage through late. It is expensive. 7 is a lot. What kind of creep does he spawn? A loyal beast. I'm not exactly sure what those loyal beasts look like. I'm not even sure if they're red, to be honest, given the Kanas are black. Maybe these are black too. I don't know. Loyal beast. I don't see it on here, and I'm not like trying to dig through these cards. 3 attack, 1 armor, 3 HP creep that modifies unit it hits with -1 attack. Dang, that seems really good. What color is it? So Young has played 2 spells, but that's not quite enough to finish off this Beastmaster before combat happens. He does have 1 mana left. Does he have another spell he can play? If he has another blue spell, that would be super, super clutch. Finishing off this Beastmaster before combat. Another thing I didn't mention. Killing creeps gives you gold. 1 gold per. And killing heroes gives you 5 gold, so. And it looks like combat is happening, which means Zeus is going to die. Beastmaster dies. The other Zeus dies. Axe is, of course, fine because Axe is a beast. Zeus dying doesn't matter a ton because Kana is in that lane to cast blue spells in that lane. Actually, Zeus dying maybe is a good thing because when he's ready to pop up, he can pop up in whichever lane needs him the most. Blue heroes are not about dealing damage. Blue heroes are about facilitating you casting spells. So, as long as you have a blue hero in a lane, you don't really need 2. In this lane, Conflagration happens first, and that's just going to finish off the whole lane with the help of Luna's Lucent Beam. I'm not sure which happens first, Conflagration or Lucent Beam. I don't know how timing conflicts work in this game yet. They both happen before the action phase, and it actually is important which happens first because Conflagration happening first guarantees this gets finished off before anything happens. Whereas if Luna's Lucent Beam, so they happen at the same time. So if Luna's Lucent Beam would have hit the creep instead of Luna, then Luna would still be alive with 1 health. And you can see this lane starting to get a little wide too for Tabletop Simulator. So if they happen at the same time, then 40 seconds Lucent Beam should have hit something as well. I'm not exactly sure which thing it pinged. Maybe it must have pinged one of these creeps. Because these Hounds of War only have 1 health left. So they would have died. And also damage happening to this tower. Back to the shopping phase. Oh, by the way, if you're not familiar with Tabletop Simulator, these boxes here are hidden information for each player. So in other words, the green player, young based, can see what's happening under this box and this box. And 42nd, the red player can see what's happening under these 2 boxes. And what is happening under there for us who cannot see is item cards will pop up randomly in these 3. Again, 1 secret shop item, 1 item deck item, and 1 consumable item. And you can buy as much as you can afford. Of course, you can only buy 1 secret shop item per round and 1 consumable item per round. You can buy as many of your item deck as you want, though. And then this is what's happening over here. This is just showing... This is open information for now. It's saying where the creeps are going to spawn. It is random, but it's open information. And then it gets hidden and each player will place their hero under here into the lane they want them to pop up in, and then a script will place them there randomly. So that's how the game works. Like you can see Young Based is spawning Bristle. He just dragged him into this box, and then Bristle will pop into whichever lane Young Based just decided. All three lanes are pretty tight, actually. He's definitely not going to pop into the third lane because he's pretty much got that on lockdown. And so it's either the first or the second. He decides to pop him into the second. I'd make an argument for putting him in the first because right now there's no heroes here, which means Young Base can't play a single card here. So you're basically wasting 7 mana. Or I guess 6 mana. That's 6 mana you're not using, so you're not getting good value in that first lane. But he does decide to put him in the second lane. Again, I hate to keep saying this. I'm not an expert in this game, so when I talk strategy stuff, take it all with a grain of salt, right? You really only need to win 2 different lanes. So maybe wasting all this mana in the first lane is fine. But in a game like Magic or Hearthstone, you want to do what is called curving out, which is basically it means every round you spend all of your mana in the first few turns, and that gives you the most value, right? So there are certain cards that are more expensive, and if you're able to play them, you're getting value. But if you don't curve out, you're kind of wasting value. So I don't know. It's just good to have a hero in each lane, I think. But again, that's from my ignorant perspective. So this lane happened fast because 42nd was the only one who could make any plays. Conflagration did hit a bunch of stuff. So only 1 melee creep left there. Young's tower here is very healthy. 22 health left on 40 seconds. Lane 2, both towers are very healthy, so Young's going to win lane 3, it looks like. And then it's going to be a contest for these first 2 lanes. 40 seconds going to have to probably win lane 1. He also really is wasting his Earthshaker here because this ability that Earthshaker has is not getting used either, so that's another thing that's just you're wasting value there. So maybe that's why he put Bristle in this second lane. He didn't want to get stunned. Wanted to waste that Earthshaker turn. And I'm not sure what they're doing right now. It looks like the action's still in the second lane. We do have a blue and a red hero here, so Young has access to his full hand of cards, up to 6 mana. On the other side, just a red hero. I'm actually surprised. I think the best red hero... So, for those of you that don't have access to the chat, we're getting a message from Ergopad who says that the beta players have said curving out is a lot less important in Artifact than in other games. So I've played the game. I can definitely agree with that. I mean, it's a balance, right? Like, you have a certain amount of cards in your hand. And you can see both of these guys have a ton of cards in their hand. If you're not playing cards and you're not using mana, that seems like you're wasting value. Like, you want each of your cards to get value, and you want each of your mana crystals to get value. And a lot of the times, the bottleneck will be you run out of cards, so you're using too much mana. Or maybe the bottleneck will be you don't have enough mana, so you don't use all your cards. But if you're neither using all your mana or using all your cards, then your bottleneck is you're just not getting value. So I don't know. That's my perspective on it, and I agree that curving out probably isn't as important in Artifact as in other games. I can definitely see that being true. But if you have some cards that you could play that have permanent effects in other lanes, and then you can't play them because you don't have a hero in that lane to use the mana, I think, yeah, that seems kind of bad. But I don't know, maybe Bristle's very important in this lane. Again, like, he already has a red hero here, so he can already use all his red cards here. So I don't know. That's just my perspective. I'm not an expert or anything. I keep saying that. Hopefully one day I'll be an expert, but definitely not yet. Okay, here comes Axe's signature card, Berserker's Call. What this does is it forces all three of Axe's neighbors to do combat with him at the same time, which means Axe hits Axe and these two creeps hit Axe, and Axe hits all three of them simultaneously. So Axe does 9 damage to each thing. And he does 7 to this Axe because Axe has 2 armor. So he finishes off both melee creeps. And he also does some damage to this opposing Axe. Young responds with a healing potion. So his Axe will stay alive this round. And he'll finish off Young's Axe. But again, killing heroes isn't as impactful as it might seem. Basically the reason to kill heroes, there's a couple. To get gold, so you can get good items. To force it so your opponent can't play cards. And to be able to push more damage through on the opponent's tower. So I think those are the main reasons to kill heroes. But you can see he's still got a red hero here, so he can still play red cards in this lane. So the bad thing about killing heroes is that gives them some mobility. Of course, Axe already has a Blink Dagger, but it does let him pop up in whichever lane he thinks it's needed. So there is a slight downside to killing heroes too. But yeah, a lot of people are just looking at the red heroes and seeing how beefy their bodies are and thinking, well, red heroes are the best. Look at their bodies, like they're so hard to kill. And look at blue heroes, they have like 7 health. They're just going to get picked off real quick. Well, that's not always the end of the world. It's actually fine most of the time. Okay, so action's moving to the 3rd lane. This is actually a really bad arrow for Luna because she'd rather be hitting the tower. Not terrible, actually, because Luna only has 3 health, but most of the time when you have a hero that's in an open, unblocked lane, you don't want them to be attacking diagonally into a creep. With Luna, it's fine because she's got 3 damage, but that's generally there's some RNG in this game, and that's like probably the worst RNG to get. That's probably what we're going to be hearing the most complaints about are these arrows. That and where you spawn in the lane. Because you have no control. Again, you're basically managing your characters. You're not in direct control of them. So you say, Axe, go to lane 3, and he pops up randomly in front of him in one of these spots. So there is quite a bit of RNG, but from what I've heard, RNG usually isn't the thing that decides games. I mean, the game is very complicated and there's a lot going on, so there's a lot to mitigate that RNG. And so this tower's still pretty healthy, I think, unless they haven't added up the damage yet. It looked like there was a lot of things about to hit that tower. Oh, you know what? Axe didn't die over here. He actually blinked to lane 3. I got confused because he got pulled off the table, but that's just because the tables are so wide. So yeah, Axe is fine, actually. He blinks over to lane 3 and hits the tower. So Young doing pretty well in lane 3 now. 19 health left on this tower. Zeus is about to spawn. His signature card costs 7, I believe. Thunder God's Wrath. So that's going to be up this round. That's definitely a big thing to keep in mind. If Young puts Zeus in lane 1 and he has initiative, so he can go in lane 1 and use Thunder God's Wrath, it will do... It actually won't kill anything, so it's not going to be super impactful. On the other side, 42nd has Luna, Beastmaster, and Zeus, all 3 coming up this round. So it'll be interesting to see where he puts these guys. Again, I think it's best to spread out the heroes a bit. At least, unless you're like pushing to finish the game off. Lane 3 looks like a lost lane, so he probably won't put anyone there. So he's probably going to split these 3 heroes between lane 1 and 2. I'm going to guess he's going to put a red hero in lane 1 and a blue hero in lane 2. Probably Luna in lane 1 because then he can get the extra Eclipse in case he needs it early. Like I said, she's a hero that wants to be in lane 1. So he's probably going to put 2 in lane 1 and 1 in lane 2 maybe. He needs to basically win both of these lanes, and he is behind in both of them. But Axe and Luna are stuck over here for now. Blink Dagger has a 2-turn cooldown, so it'll be up next turn. Oh, right, yeah. So again, we mentioned Kana's ability before. Sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing. Usually the 2 melee creeps randomly pop up in the 3 lanes. But with Kana on the board, they're always going to come to lane 2. So he kind of needs some presence here to make sure that he doesn't lose this lane. Conflagration's also going to help him in lane 1, so maybe he'll just plop 1 red hero down in lane 1, and he'll plop both blue heroes down in lane 2. That's definitely a possibility. He already has Earthshaker in lane 1, so he can already use all his blue spells from there. And it looks like he's going to plop... He's actually not given up on lane 3 yet. He does have Conflagration here, which means all of these melee creeps are going to die before action starts. This Axe actually could get finished off if Earthshaker plays... Looks like all 7 mana is getting spent, so here comes Thunder God's Wrath. 4 damage to Kana, 4 damage to Bristleback, 4 damage to Zeus, 4 damage to Axe, and 4 damage to Luna. So Luna and Axe are just done. That's the power of lane 1. And again, Young didn't put anyone there. And he did have initiative. I don't think there was anything he could do to stop it, though, really. He would have had to kill Earthshaker or stun him to prevent that from happening. So, pretty bad news for Young. And now it looks like 42nd actually does have a chance on this 3rd lane. Zeus only has 3 health left, and Conflagration's going to deal 2. So and all these melee creeps are going to die. So if 42nd can figure out a way to ping 1 more damage onto Zeus before the action gets to lane 3, that'll be a huge, huge swing. 42nd maybe could just win this lane. It's a pretty big deal to finish off multiple heroes at the same time. Now they're going to be out of the action for 2 turns. They do go into the ready box for some reason. They should be in the next round box. Maybe these guys are just keeping track a different way than what I've done. Lane 2 here. This is probably the lane that's most up in the air. Both players have a lot of action going on here. 2 heroes on Young's side, 3 heroes on 42nd side. This is a lane that's probably will decide the game. Young will probably still find a way to eventually kill this tower. But and it looks like 42nd. Well, I mean, he's making such slow progress. Earthshaker does 2 damage a turn. That's nothing. So I don't know. Lane 1's also up in the air. It's really hard for me to tell who's winning in Artifact. It seems like games always come down to the wire, which is a very good thing for a game, for a card game. Berserker's Call gets played, which finishes off Bristleback here. I'm not sure. Did Young play that Berserker's Call? Yeah, he did. So why would he do that if it got his own dude killed? Oh, it also killed Luna, which is very important. Like I said, if you kill all of one color in a lane, they can't use that color spell anymore. So you can see how many cards 42nd has. I'm sure some of them are blue. And if he had a blue spell that could ping a damage onto Zeus, that would be huge. We haven't seen Beastmaster's signature card yet. That one is also 7 mana, so that's up as well. So he might use that signature card here on Kana. Although, with only 1 mana left, stunning really doesn't do that much. So maybe he'll just let the damage go through. He is dealing more damage to her than she's dealing to him. Instead, he's going to play Berserker's Call on his own Axe, which is going to get this Kana pretty close to death and also finish off some creeps over here. So Axe is going to push 9 damage through this tower. It's a pretty big deal. 9 damage is a lot. This tower is going to get down to, it looks like 16 right now. This melee creep, again, is not attacking the tower because he got this arrow into the creep. So this melee creep is blocking 2 attackers. So that's the way RNG can work. Like if this was a hero, this tiny little melee creep could potentially be blocking 2 heroes. So there are some interesting RNG mechanics. I mean, they both have very big hands. So they probably have like everything they need. But yeah, it would be easier if we could see their hands. Unfortunately, there's not really a streaming tool for tabletop simulators version of Artifact. This is like this is actually like a pretty advanced simulation with all these scripts and stuff. I'm pretty impressed by whoever put this together. But yeah, they did not build in any streamer tools, unfortunately. Yep, Conflagration finishes off all these creeps, but Zeus is still alive with 1 health. On the other side, Young has his own Conflagration, which is dealing some damage. He needs to finish off this Zeus, or else he's going to lose his tower. I guess there's a chance that this Zeus gets a diagonal arrow instead of a straight or left arrow. There's a 25% chance. And Young whips out Eclipse, which is actually going to finish off everything in this lane. 3 piercing damage to Zeus, 3 to this melee creep, and 3 to this melee creep. So he just pops down his Eclipse. This lane is defeated. On to the Ancient. So it was a valiant effort there by 42nd, trying to throw his Zeus into that 3rd lane to prevent the tower from being killed, even though Young had 3 heroes in that lane. It doesn't go his way, though. So it kind of makes me think maybe shouldn't. Maybe he should have focused on lane 1. Because, I mean, there's no reason for Young to stick around in lane 3 anymore. Now Young's going to be contesting lane 1. So instead of trying to prevent that basically inevitable tower kill, he could have been working on this tower in the meantime. I think 42nd is now on the back foot, thanks to that play by Zeus. So they're both back into the buy phase. Spending a lot of gold, it looks like. 20 gold available. And 3 cards popping out here for 42nd. It looks like 2 cards coming out. 3 cards coming out over here. I'm not sure how much gold he started with, but he spent all of it. So, yeah, both players. Tons of cards. I think... I'm not sure about this, but I think as people get better at the game, they're not going to have as many cards in their hand late in the game because they're going to get better at playing their cards instead of holding them. To me, when I see a player that has like 20 cards in their hand, to me that means they haven't played their cards right. But again, I'm not totally sure about that. That's just me from a like Hearthstone perspective, really, because I do play a lot of Hearthstone, and I play a lot of aggro decks, and the bottleneck in aggro decks is you run out of cards, and you want to kill your opponent before you run out of cards. Control decks, of course, usually have more cards in their hands because they're slower, but I mean, this is a ton of cards. And the game is probably only going to last another round or 2. So, I mean, if you end the game with 10 cards in your hand, that's 10 cards that you didn't play. So basically, it's 10 cards that you wasted. I mean, cards in hand is a resource. And if you're not using all of your resources, that's like you're not getting good value for those cards. Maybe in Artifact, hand size is really not that important, but from what I've heard, there are cards that let you draw, and those cards are valuable. So that, to me, would mean that running out of cards is possible. But yeah, again, this is just from the perspective of someone that's watched a bunch of games and played one time. So not exactly the most experienced Artifact voice, but that's just my general theory perspective. So yeah, there should be some heroes coming out here. Bristleback moves to ready, but I think Axe is coming out and Luna. They both go to lane 2. Since lane 3 has already been won by Young, he only needs to win one more lane. He did have the option of going to lane 1. There's only 22 health left there, but I mean, Earthshaker is so wasted over here. I mean, he can use the mana, but he really wants to use his Fissure. He hasn't used it one time this game. He hasn't been across from anyone important at all. So, again, that's the problem. Like, sometimes you want your heroes to die so they can go to other lanes. And like I said, you're not in control of that. You're just managing them. So, I mean, he needs a Blink Dagger or a Town Portal Scroll. And he is going to play a Town Portal Scroll. So that will return Earthshaker to the fountain. And next round, all 3 of his blue heroes are coming out. But all 3 of his blue heroes down means this giant hand has got to have some good blue spells in there. He can't use any of them. I'm really surprised he didn't have any blue spells he could play here that did any impact anywhere else. Because a lot of those blue spells can affect other lanes. He's just going to be holding all his blue cards now this whole round. The only cards he can play are red and only in lane 2. So yeah, Ergopad. I think it's just because we haven't gotten a lot of time to get good at this game yet. Like, the first time I played, I had a bunch of cards in my hand also, but I felt like I misplayed it. I felt like I could have been playing cards more. But again, it's something you need to get a feel for, and we just haven't had time. And in Tabletop Simulator, the game moves a little slower, so you don't get practicing doesn't give you as much experience because you don't get as many games in. Yeah, maybe that's true too. Thunder God's Wrath is cross lane, but I don't think it would have been that impactful. And you got like conflagrations. I believe both players are probably running 3 conflagrations. Dimensional Portal is a useful spell that he could have used in lane 1. And I'm not sure what all our tier 1 cards, but these are the cards I've been seeing. Dimensional Portal, I think gets a lot of play. Conflagration. And 1 for me seems pretty good. Annihilation's pretty good. So I think he could have played Dimensional Portal. He could have played Conflagration. But, you know, if he's got some of these other cards, then yeah, maybe he had some cards he couldn't play. Diabolic Revelation could be useful. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's in his hand either. But he does need to win this lane. These 2 melee creeps are not enough to win a lane. I mean, he's done like no damage to lane 1, even though he's had free reign of it. Looks like he is going to win lane 2 probably. But he's got to find a kill in another lane. Oh, and it looks like he used Beastmaster's card, which is a very good effect. He got Kana to move to lane 3. That's super useful. She's going to have a hard time coming back to lane 2 now. And she's also going to pull creeps over there, so maybe Beastmaster is a good counter to Kana because he can force her into a lane she doesn't want to be in and turn her passive into a negative. Now there's no random creeps coming to lane 2 or 1. So you can see how these heroes are evolving over the course of the game. This Luna now has 4 armor and 16 health and 7 attack. So as she started with 3 attack and 7 health and 0 armor. Axe, I think he starts with 7 attack and 2 armor. So the armor is increasing over here. There is diminishing returns on armor. Like, having 6 armor doesn't really matter. Like, if you have more than 4, like, nothing's really going to hurt you with regular damage anymore. And again, being immortal is not like the best thing in the game, because sometimes you actually want to die. 2 armor is amazing because then creeps don't hurt you and pings don't hurt you. Yeah, that's probably true. I feel like it's good to run some cards that can pressure a tower, even in a control deck. But it doesn't seem like his deck is running any tools that can put any kind of pressure on his open lane. I mean, your deck needs a way to win lanes. I mean, the main card I'm thinking of is Dimensional Portal. This card is just ridiculous. Summon 3 melee creeps for 4 mana is just super, super good. I mean, compare that to something like here, let's Untested Grunt, 4 attack, 2 health for 2. It's 2 more mana, but it gives you 2 more bodies on the board, and it's basically 2 more attack and 10 more health for 2 more mana. So like that is just a bonkers card in blue. Dimensional Portal. I think probably 3 copies should be in every blue deck. Yeah, it just seems like real good. So maybe he doesn't have one of those in his hand, but if he did, he absolutely should have played it. And he's got so many cards. I haven't seen a Dimensional Portal get played yet. Here's the Loyal Beast, by the way. These little guys have a lot of health and a armor. Not a lot of health, a lot of stats. 1 armor, 3 health, and 3 attacks is pretty decent. Of course, Axe says it's not going to hurt Axe at all, but it is going to block Axe from doing 9 damage to the tower. So there is something called Siege in Artifact, which can push damage through even if you're blocked. It's kind of like Trample in Magic. But it doesn't look like there's any Siege units on the board right now. So all of Axe's 9 damage is just getting blocked. Yeah, I apologize if this is a little hard to follow. It's honestly, it's a little hard to follow for me too. It's a lot going on in a client that is just a simulation of the actual game, so it's a lot to keep track of here. I'm doing my best. This is my first time casting Artifact. I really would like to make it a regular thing. I want to make Artifact my main game in the future. But Tabletop Simulator is the best I can do right now, unfortunately. Okay, initiative's passing Basta Young. He passes. And then 42nd passes, so Young gets initiative in round 3. Yeah, you know, it's kind of a blessing and a curse for me because there's an NDA right now. The people that are in the closed beta are not allowed to stream Artifact. So that gives me a little window where I'm one of the only people streaming the game right now. So that gives me a little practice streaming it, and it gives me a little, like, I don't know. I'm not expecting to like catch on as a streamer, but if people really want to see Artifact, they don't really have that many choices right now. But then again, yeah, I'm dying to see all of the cards that have yet to been revealed. I'm really getting tired of seeing just a card every day. I just want the whole set. But, you know, I think Valve's actually been pretty good at communicating with the community as far as revealing cards and stuff and getting the hype up. The only bad thing I'd say is how they haven't released any information about the beta keys. Like, if the beta keys come with the pre-ordered game, they should absolutely tell us, because those beta keys are going for $200 on eBay. Like, can you imagine if you just get them for free with the pre-order, how dumb those people are going to feel that buy them for $200? And, like, what's going to hurt Valve if they don't tell us that? Like, I don't understand why that information's not coming out. I just don't get it. But as far as releasing information about the cards, I kind of like how they're doing it, actually. They're letting all like the big streamers reveal one card. I think that's kind of cool. Yeah, I totally agree with that. They need to release more information about the beta because that's really, I think at this point people don't care about the cards that much because for the people that aren't playing on Tabletop Simulator and aren't playing in the beta, the cards are just numbers. Like you don't know how good a card is until you really play around with it and understand the mechanics of the game. Like you can't just read the rules and evaluate a card. Um, so getting a new card every day is cool, uh, but the beta is really what people want to know about. And this lane 1, it's been empty all game. This can't be the correct way to play, just leaving a lane empty all game. I mean, all this mana is wasted every turn. And now this mana also just wasted. And again, Young is using his cards pretty well at least. He's only got 7 in the hand. But over here, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 cards. And 3 items. So, alright, the first time I played this game, I think the reason I didn't play that many cards is if you play a card, initiative passes, right? And if you pass, you maintain initiative. So a lot of times you're like, well, if I'm going to play a card and it's not going to kill anything, why play it? I'd rather have initiative. But I think, I'm not sure about this, but I think that I was overvaluing how important having initiative is. I mean, it can be important, but it's not like the most important thing. I think it's more important to get value out of your cards. But yeah, I was definitely overvaluing initiative in my first game, and that's why I didn't play a lot of cards. In fact, my first game lasted like 11 rounds, which is like, that's just a sign that both of us were playing poorly because the game should be over in, like, if you're running an aggro deck, maybe 9 or 10 rounds. I mean, maybe 11 or 12. But in constructed, and we were playing with constructed decks, you should be able to finish off your opponent in the first 10 rounds. Like, 10 is a long amount of rounds. Alright, so there are some creeps pushing some damage here, but again, like, it's not really a lot. It's just 6 damage. And again, all this mana is wasted for both players now. I mean, these towers are up for grabs. 22 health and 24 health. That's not a lot. Like, you plop down 2 or 3 heroes here, you could definitely push through that. And honestly, why is Zeus in lane 3? Like, I don't understand. Is he trying to protect the Ancient? There's 67 health here still. He needs to get this kill for sure, which isn't a guarantee either. He's only got 8 health left on this tower, which would lose him the game if he loses it. So he's in a real bad spot. And he's got to find a way to finish off this tower too. Like, I'm not sure how 42nd can come back from this one. I was trying to have initiative like every lane, every round. I think that's like, if you're going to just play for initiative, you're going to lose. There are definitely key moments in the game when having initiative is really, really important. But, like, it's not every round, every turn, you know? So, yeah, there's definitely going to be some feeling out to when to play for initiative. Oh, yeah, Time of Triumph. What a card. Okay, so Time of Triumph. 8 mana. This is a finisher card. All heroes get +4 attack permanently for the rest of the game. +4 armor, so they're never going to die. +4 health. Same. +4 cleave. Cleave, +4 cleave means everything they hit, they also deal 4 damage to the neighbors. And finally, +4 siege, which means even if they're blocked, 4 damage is going to go through this tower. So this is going to be the end of the game here. Time of Triumph is just going to finish it off. I think 42nd, he would need to kill 2 heroes to survive a night. With all this health, I mean 23, 16, and 20 behind 10 armor, 4 armor, and 8 armor, it's just not possible. Unless he's got Annihilation. I mean, that's... Again, blue spell here. Where is it? Annihilation. Oh, this card. Condemn all units? That just means everything in the lane dies. That's really his only chance here. If he could TP a hero away, I mean... Yeah, I don't know. There's also a blue spell called Bolt of Damocles or something. That's a pretty good finisher at 10 mana. Deal 20 damage to the enemy tower. But he... Oh, interesting here. He's got some blinks going to lane 1. I'm not sure why. Maybe they're just talking out the game. Maybe it's over already. I think they're just talking there. I actually have them muted right now. Let me turn up their volume real quick.
Would have hit it. Unless he somehow spawned like another creep. But even if
So we're listening here to 42nd and Young Base Salami. They're talking about their game and what could have gone differently.
I could do this. I don't know. Maybe the game would have gone longer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't push and then Zeus spawns the next turn and you annihilate with Zeus. And then the game just takes longer.
So it
That
looks
was a
like
pretty good game. Nice control
Young
versus
had
control.
Annihilation in his
Yeah,
hand.
thank you, man.
This
I
is the
learned a lot.
hand of
Yeah, same. We can do a tiebreaker another day. I'm freaking
42nd.
sleepy. I'm falling asleep here.
Oh,
looks like
yeah,
he
it's
didn't
nice
have
to
any
know.
blue spells that could have been very
Yeah, it's
impactful
like
in round in lane
1:40 in the
1.
morning. Peace
Okay,
out,
okay.
man.
Yeah,
Cheers,
peace out.
good game. And thanks
See you
for
later.
whatever for streaming this and spectating. Cheers.
Hey guys,
Peace.
yeah, thanks for letting me spectate your game. I'll give you the link to the Twitch video if you want to watch the replay.
Yeah, I want to watch the replay thing.
Sounds
Here,
cool, man.
it's
Thanks.
just twitch.tv/Brett P. Kelly.
Brad P. Kelly, the one in your username?
Yep. Here,
Okay.
I'll just post you a link right here. Let's see. I'll post it
I'll
right
talk
in
to you guys
Tabletop
later.
Sim.
I'm gonna sleep. Peace out, guys.
Take it easy.
Okay.
You too.
Have a good night, young boys.
All right, take it easy.
Okay.
Okay, so that was Young and 42nd.
Okay, I'm going to close the top and I'm going to...
Yep, thanks. Have a good night.
So yeah, see you later.
All right, so so that was the game. What do you guys think? Do you have any thoughts as far as, again, this is my first time casting an artifact game, and I know it's a little wonky with Tabletop Simulator, but this I think is about as good as I can do. I am planning on streaming more Artifact. In fact, I think I'm probably going to dedicate the stream to Artifact for the next couple months. If you guys are not familiar with me, I am an Imperial Assault player. It's a tabletop game from Fantasy Flight Games. I'm pretty respected in the Imperial Assault community, but there hasn't been a lot of new content in the past couple months, so yeah, I've been thinking about switching to card games. But as far as my background, I was top 4 in Imperial Assault Worlds 2 years in a row. North American or U.S. national champ. Won a bunch of regional champs in that. But I've been playing Hearthstone a lot lately. I am an infinite player in Arena. Legend rank Hearthstone player. But I definitely think I like this Artifact game. And I think there's not a ton of streamers for it yet, so maybe there's a chance for someone like me to break through here. But I appreciate you guys all watching tonight, and I appreciate you guys communicating in the chat. I always love to have people chatting with me while I'm streaming. So thank you guys, everyone who's watching. But yeah, I know that action's hard to follow in Tabletop Simulator. There's not really much I can do about it, to be honest. Because you basically either have to listen to the players who are chatting because they're saying what they're doing. But that makes it hard to stream because they're chatting the whole time, so you can't really talk over them. That's honestly the only other option. The only other option is to mute them and just try to follow as best you can. Yeah, same. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I haven't memorized all the different cards and things, so once I do that, it'll be easier. And I'm not like, I don't have a ton of experience with the game yet, so I personally could make it better. It's just going to take work from me, and this was kind of a trial run. But I think it went pretty well. Hopefully it'll be smoother as we keep going. That's my hope, at least. And I've heard the Artifact client has some streamer tools built in, and it's got replays and stuff built in, so I'm very excited. Hopefully I can find a way to get a beta key. I am not convinced that I will yet, but I might have to wait till November 28th like everyone else, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, it's got a deck tracker built in, it's got replays. I'm very excited for the client. Not yet. Back in the day I used to play Dota a lot, and I met Sir Action Slacks, and I helped him when he was still kind of early in his career. I snuck him up to like the VIP area at the International, so he was able to meet some pro players. So I sent him a message on Reddit like, "Hey, do you remember me? Like, I was that guy," and he never responded. Of course, I was kind of begging. But I never heard anything back, unfortunately. Oh well. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for me tonight, too. Thank you all so much again for watching. I really appreciate the viewers. And I'll be bringing you guys more Artifact in the future. Look out on Friday afternoon is when my next stream is scheduled. So I'll bring you some more Artifact Friday at noon. So tune in. Thank you guys so much, and have a great night.